Hey everyone, and welcome back to Power of Possibility. You know how we're always talking about ways to boost your productivity and make the most of your day?
Right.
Well, I recently stumbled upon this article
Yeah.
from Forbes called 8 Steps to Include in Your Night Routine to Ensure a Successful Next Day.
Interesting.
And it totally fit the script
Really?
on how I think about achieving success.
It's so interesting how we tend to fixate on our morning routines,
Yeah,
but often neglect the power of a solid nighttime routine.
right. It's like we're so focused on getting a good start that we forget about setting ourselves up for a smooth finish,
Mm.
which can actually make a huge difference in how the
Hughes.
next day unfolds.
Exactly. It's about creating a sense of momentum and continuity
Yeah,
instead of just crashing into bed exhausted and waking up feeling like you're already behind.
totally. And this article breaks down some really practical tips for crafting a nightly routine that primes you for success.
Cool.
So let's dive in, shall we? The first one that caught my eye is all about carving out me time.
Ah, yes. That sacred hour or so where you can truly unwind
Yeah.
and recharge after a long day, it's essential for both your mental and physical well-being.
Especially for busy parents out there who are constantly juggling work, family, and everything in between.
Hmm.
I can imagine that having that dedicated time to yourself once the kids are asleep can feel like a lifesaver.
Absolutely. It's not just about indulging in a little self-care, though. That's certainly a perk.
Sure.
The real benefit lies in actively reducing stress levels,
Huh.
which in turn improves sleep quality and sets the stage for a more productive and focused day ahead.
Makes sense. And the article gives some great examples
Oh, yeah.
of how to spend that me time effectively,
Yeah.
like taking a hot shower to relax those muscles,
Oh, nice.
maybe watching a quick documentary while stretching,
Sounds good.
or using a meditation app to clear your mind before bed. It all sounds so doable and appealing.
It's about finding what works for you
Mm.
and creating a ritual that signals to your body and mind
Yeah.
that it's time to wind down and transition into rest mode. So true. Okay, now this next tip is one that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with.
Oh,
Making a list for the next day.
okay.
I know it's supposed to be super helpful,
Hmm.
but sometimes it just feels like I'm adding more stress to my plate.
I understand that feeling. But think of it this way.
Okay.
It's not about creating a rigid schedule that you have to stick to no matter what.
Okay.
It's more about training your mind for productivity
Uh-huh.
by getting into the habit of prioritizing and mentally preparing for what lies ahead.
So even if the list changes in the morning, which let's face it, it probably will,
Right?
the very act of creating it the night before
Yeah.
has already set the stage for a more intentional and focused day.
Precisely. It's like planting the seeds for a productive day before you even go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, this practice can really transform your approach to work and life in general.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now on to a tip that I think we can all relate to but struggle with immensely.
Oh, no.
Leaving the phone behind.
Yes. The siren song of the smartphone.
I know. It's so tempting to scroll through social media or catch up on emails before bed,
For sure.
but that blue light emitted from screens can really wreak havoc on your sleep.
I've heard that it interferes with our natural sleep cycles
That's right.
by suppressing melatonin production,
Exactly.
which makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep.
And that's why creating a phone-free zone in your bedroom is so crucial. Even if you just start with an hour before bed,
Okay.
that separation can make a world of difference in the quality of your sleep and how you feel the next day.
The article suggests keeping your phone out of reach, maybe even in a drawer,
Right.
if you need to resist the temptation. It's about creating that mental and physical boundary
Mhm.
between work, social media, and restful sleep.
Exactly. And if you're worried about missing important calls or messages, you can always make exceptions for emergencies. But for the most part,
Yeah.
try to treat your bedroom as a sanctuary from the digital world.
Okay, so those first 3 tips really focused on winding down and disconnecting. Now, I'm curious about the other 5 tips, which seem to be more about actively preparing your mind for the day ahead. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. You're right. These next few tips are all about setting intentions and priming your mind for a productive and fulfilling day.
Okay, so let's start with tip number 4, journaling. I've always been intrigued by journaling, but I've never been able to stick with it consistently. What are some of the benefits that might motivate me to give it another try?
Well, for starters, journaling can be an incredibly powerful tool for emotional processing. It allows you to get all of those thoughts and feelings out of your head and onto paper,
Okay.
which can help you gain clarity and perspective.
I can see how that would be especially helpful after a particularly challenging or stressful day. It's like giving yourself a safe space to vent and decompress without judgment.
Exactly.
Right.
And by regularly reflecting on your experiences, you can start to identify patterns in your thoughts and behaviors,
Uh-huh.
which can lead to greater self-awareness and personal growth.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like you're becoming your own therapist in a way.
You could say that journaling can also help you identify and challenge limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
negative thought patterns that might be holding you back.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. I'm definitely going to dust off my old journal tonight. Okay, so what's tip number 5?
Tip number 5 is all about focusing on the positive by jotting down one highlight from your day.
Oh, I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in the negatives and forget to appreciate the good things that happen each day.
Exactly. And by intentionally taking a moment to reflect on something positive,
Right.
you're essentially rewiring your brain to focus on gratitude and abundance.
That's so powerful. And I bet it helps to shift your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance,
Oh, yeah,
which can have a ripple effect on all areas of your life
absolutely. And, this practice is particularly beneficial for entrepreneurs who often face a lot of challenges and setbacks.
because it helps them stay motivated and maintain a positive outlook even when things get tough.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even on the hardest days, there's always something to be grateful for.
Love it. Okay, so on to tip number 6, laying out your clothes for the next day. I have to admit this one always seemed a bit silly to me, but I'm open to hearing why it's on the list.
It might seem like a small thing, but trust me, it can make a surprisingly big difference in your morning routine.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Well, for starters, it eliminates decision fatigue. That feeling of being overwhelmed by all the choices you have to make first thing in the morning.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's like my brain is already fried before I've even had my coffee.
Right. So by having your outfit ready to go, you're essentially freeing up mental bandwidth
Okay.
for more important decisions later in the day.
That's a good point.
Right.
Plus, I imagine it also saves time and reduces stress in the morning, especially if you're someone who tends to run late.
Exactly. And it can even boost your confidence
Wow.
by helping you feel more put together and prepared for the day ahead.
Interesting. It's like you're setting yourself up for success from the moment you step out of bed.
Precisely. Now, tip number 7 is particularly relevant for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Affirmations and silence.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this one. How do affirmations and silence work together to enhance productivity?
Well, affirmations are positive statements that you repeat to yourself
Right.
to reprogram your subconscious mind and cultivate a more empowering belief system.
So it's about replacing those negative self-talk loops
Uh-huh.
with more positive and constructive ones.
Exactly. And when you combine affirmations with silence,
Okay.
you create the perfect environment for those affirmations to really sink in.
Because you're eliminating distractions and giving your mind the space it needs to absorb
Yeah,
those positive messages.
precisely. It's like planting seeds in fertile soil. The silence allows those seeds to take root and grow.
That's a beautiful analogy. And I can see how this practice would be especially helpful for entrepreneurs who often struggle with self-doubt and anxiety.
Absolutely. Affirmations can help boost confidence and resilience, while silence allows for deeper introspection and clarity.
Okay, and finally, tip number 8, reading a physical book before bed.
Okay.
I've always been a big reader, but I'll admit that I've gotten into the habit of reading on my phone or tablet before bed. Why is it so important to switch to a physical book?
Well, as we discussed earlier, the blue light emitted from screens can interfere with sleep. But beyond that,
Yeah.
reading a physical book is simply a more calming and relaxing activity.
It's like giving your brain permission to slow down and disconnect from the digital world.
Exactly. And the act of turning pages and physically holding a book
Right.
can be very soothing and meditative.
Plus, there's something really special about curling up with a good book before bed. It's like a ritual that signals to your body and mind that it's time to wind down and prepare for sleep.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to choose books that are engaging,
Okay.
but not overly stimulating. You want something that will hold your attention,
Yeah.
but not keep you up all night.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground tonight. I'm feeling inspired to revamp my nightly routine and incorporate some of these tips. What stood out to you the most from this article?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is the importance of being intentional about how we end our days.
Right.
Instead of just collapsing into bed exhausted, we can create a nightly routine that nourishes our minds and bodies
Okay.
and sets us up for a more productive and fulfilling tomorrow.
I couldn't agree more. It's
Yeah.
like we're taking control of our evenings instead of letting them control us.
And by doing so, we're essentially investing in our future selves.
That's such a powerful way to think about it.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick one tip for our listeners to try tonight, what would it be?
I would encourage everyone to experiment with the phone-free zone in the bedroom, even if it's just for an hour before bed.
Okay.
That separation can make a world of difference in the quality of your sleep and how you feel the next day.
Great advice. And I think it's a great place to start because it's relatively easy to implement and the benefits are immediate.
Exactly. It's a small change that can have a big impact.
Well said. A huge thank you to you for joining us today and sharing your incredible insights.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of our amazing listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to Power of Possibility. We hope this episode has inspired you to create a nightly routine that empowers you to live your best life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe for more thought-provoking content on how to unlock your full potential. We'll see you next time.